Today we begin a very important series here on this channel where we start bringing you technical analysis by an expert each and every day, helping you understand where Bitcoin might be going. Now, Bitcoin's chart is the most important in crypto because it's the most highly liquid, has the most history, and is the most accurate at predicting price action for the rest of the industry. If we know which direction Bitcoin is going, we probably know which direction price action is going on the whole for the rest of the market. So with that said, we're going to be bringing on my good friend and Bitcoin options futures trading absolute legend, Krown from Krown's Crypto Cave, to start doing daily TA updates here on the channel. Now, we want this segment to be giving you the information that you need, so please leave all of your feedback in the comment section. We're going to be shaping up this segment over time to make it that morning cup of coffee with TA that will totally prepare you for the price action of the day. As you guys know, I like to focus on broad trends, I like to focus on fundamentals, I like to focus on narratives and niches, and I think bringing Krown on to focus on the technicals and the trading side will really give you a much more rounded understanding of the way different people approach this industry. Again, my vision for EllioTrades is to provide you with all the data you need, whether it's trading information, fundamentals, predictions, technical analysis, even more topical and off the beaten path content like mini documentaries and stuff like that. I'm gonna bring it all to you through this channel. So please show Krown some love, smash that like button, make sure to blow him up and follow his personal socials. He's got his own app. He's been making content for years and years in this industry as well. He's a total pro at what he does, and we are really, really happy and lucky to have him here as a guest, a continued installment here on the channel. So please show him some love, smash those like buttons, and let's dive in. Over to you, Krown.
Welcome back to EllioTrades channel. I'm your host Krown today with some early morning tea leaves reading, or some technical analysis, as some people know as well. And we're going to be doing this as an ongoing series here. So I do want to sort of give a bit of an introduction. I'm an American citizen living over here in Finland, so I'm going to be recording these in the morning time frame. So that is why they, you might see a bit of different price action between the time that I record these and the time that they are posted. So I'm going to make this hopefully as relatable as possible to what's happening in like the next 24 to 36 hours or so. So with that in mind, we're going to be focusing on short-term timeframes, which I typically identify as 4-hour and under, medium-term timeframes, that's your 12-hour daily, and then of course higher-term timeframes like your weekly, which is going to apply to essentially like the macro direction in this case. So with that said, a little bit about my trading philosophy and my analysis philosophy, which are two completely separate things, by the way. Just need to get that out of the way, of course. But for myself, it's always trend first. So trend first. That is the most important thing that dominates everything else that we look at here. Then we look at volatility analysis. Then of course, flows / momentum, of which we probably won't get too deep into on videos like this. I want to make them nice and short and relatable. And of course, that means that this is going to be an ongoing conversation. So please do leave some feedback in the comment section below about, what you like, what you don't like, things that, you might want some clarification on, all that good stuff. So let's just get right into it right now. So I'm with the daily, and what do we see right here? Well, we're in an uptrend, obviously, as Bitcoin has taken out its last $48,500 high right here. That was, I guess, about early last week or so. And so we are in upside trending motion, looking good actually into Sunday, of which we do have a weekly closure looming overhead, which is going to supersede everything else. But with that said, what we're going to do right now is we're going to go into the short-term timeframes, and what do I essentially identify as that? The 4-hour right here, of which Bitcoin's actually suggesting, perhaps a move right in front of our very faces. So as far as the short-term time frame ranges go, we do have this 55,850 level right here, and then of course our base and rising bottoms coming in around 53,750. Now, I like to operate off closures because I'm a little bit more on the conservative side when it comes to both my analysis and trading. However, that is a personal preference. You are free to do as you want, obviously. But with that in mind, this obviously being within the context of not short-term, but a medium-term and higher-term timeframe uptrend, I am biased towards the upside right here. And in this case, what do we see? We do see the 4-hour is approaching the topside resistance of this 55,850. Again, any sort of a closure above there, I would be looking for the next move to occur, in this case to the upside. So in that case, where would the relevant targets be if that were to happen intraday here, as we do see Bitcoin currently basing off at the 1618 Fibonacci extension? Very, very normal stuff. We corrected down to the 1414, very, very healthy right there. And if Bitcoin were to take the next leg up, first things first, I'd be looking somewhere around the 2-spot extension, about 58,500 to 59,000 bucks. Realistically, though, I do not think that things would stop there. Very rarely do I see that overall. And over time, I would be looking somewhere around these regions right here, the low $60,000 territory. These targets should be naturally confluent with the volume profile, of which we do see the last of the high value thick nodes coming in around those same levels as well. So do be cognizant of those regions. After that point, essentially Bitcoin's in a blue sky breakout and, well, have fun times ahead, I do suppose. Anyways, with that in mind, the lower term timeframes, namely the 4-hour, is showing that volatility right now is looking for expansion. So if you're not familiar with volatility as a concept, essentially it's the dispersion of returns. And what does it essentially mean in layman's terms? High volatility means that price action is moving around a lot. Low volatility means that price action is typically, in a very tight range. In this case right here, we're ranking this into a percentile format. You can see that we are already down at around 11 percentile. So we're very likely looking for a move outside of this range within the next 24, maybe 36 hours, although I do suspect sooner rather than later in this case, as we see momentum oscillators also in combination with this. Don't want to see an actual break for this region. However, that would look pretty damn good. So with that in mind, just for reference, the last time that we saw volatility around these sort of like low levels was early October, and that was coming out of this base over here before about a 10% rally, actually. It's not always going to be like that, but just, a bit of an insight as to what we could be looking at, and just kind of playing around with numbers. I'm curious to see what would 10% be looking like added to our current base. And what do you know? There's your $59,000 targeter. So looking good right there. Of course, it does come within trading and analysis that there is a non-zero probability that anything can happen. Basically, don't care, who you're listening to or what they've told you. At the end of the day, if you've been in this game long enough, you know that anything can and will happen. And if you don't think that it can happen, it will very likely happen. It's been my experience, which fair enough. Anyways. So if Bitcoin were to break the bottom side of the range, 53,750 yet again, I would be looking for that pullback first before, of course, trend continuation here. And in this case, I'd be looking somewhere down around $52,000 in line with the green 55 exponential moving average on the 4-hour as well. And I suspect that that's also one of our major fibs here too. What do you know? The 1.272. So first things first, obviously, I'm looking for trend continuation right here, but if Bitcoin were to take out the bottom of the range, then I would be looking for, of course, that downside move to occur at first. Very likely give it a chance to bounce there, maybe a higher low on the daily, which we do not have just yet. And by the way, that will be necessary at some point. But for right now, it is looking good. So the most important thing to be aware of in the next actually 18 hours, 7 minutes, and 27 seconds, as the clock ticks onwards and forwards there, is actually on the weekly right here. So obviously a weekly time frame, we'll only get one of these closures, well, every 7 days. And what are we looking at right here? Well, Bitcoin's gonna have a chance to do something rather significant, which is closing above the topside Bollinger Band right here. And whenever I see something like that, especially after a bit of a contraction phase, which I would consider this going from May base to where we're at right now in late, or I guess early October, essentially, is that if we do close above it, then I look at this as a new trend in motion and occurring specifically on the weekly. We already have it as far as price action goes. Here's your high, here's your low, here's your lower high. That was, a time to be a little bit more cautious, a little bit more bearish. And then what happens a few weeks later? Bitcoin puts in a higher low. And then, of course, this past week, we took out the last lower high. So obviously, by definition, this is a confirmation of uptrend. You want to be super conservative. You wait for a closure on that. I don't necessarily think is necessary in this particular instance, unless if Bitcoin were to sell back down before end of day to like $52,000, let's say. But for right now, if Bitcoin does close above, especially 55,500, I would even go as far as saying $55,000 again on daily closure, which is also going to be the weekly closure as well. I would be looking for that move up around the low $60,000 territory. Very likely a short-term pullback right around there. Maybe even Bitcoin does put in a bit of a local high right there, and then goes for its higher low on the daily time frame, as we spoke about earlier. But ultimately, on the weekly, I would consider this trend in motion and very likely to, lead towards new all-time highs. Where those new all-time high first targets be? Well, in this case right here, we have both a pattern target and, of course, a Fibonacci target as well. I took this extension from the prior base, the prior accumulation range over the past, basically summer. And you can see that the 1618 is right overhead, about 68,300 or so. Also in line with this as a cup and handle measured move as well. You can see, I'm really not a big pattern trader. However, when you do see confluence like this, typically a good sign. And at the end of the day, what is it essentially telling you? It's essentially telling you that we had a reaccumulation resuming in an uptrend on the weekly, rather powerful time frame. Very likely looking for this one to go onwards and upwards. You can also see some further targets perhaps down the line as well. But first things first, got to get through this day, obviously, and it's a long day left to go, which many things can happen. So I'd still like to see that confirmed, but ultimately, perhaps this next week or the week after that, looking nice, actually. So let's go back down over here. Go back to this chart actually, and let's see, did we miss anything on the daily? Yes, we did actually. So daily BBWP, again, our volatility indicator over here, is getting a little bit above 90 percentile right now. So I do suspect that it is relevant to say that Bitcoin's very likely to put in a local high, either pretty much exactly where we're at right now, right around this 55,500 level or so, or if Bitcoin does, of course, continue onwards and forwards here, as short-term timeframes are sort of indicating right now, I would be looking for that next, local high somewhere around the $60,000 territory. You can see our last major local high was also putting on a very similar read right here as well. And of course, our last major lows were putting on also a very, very similar read here too. Of course, volatility, I should say, is direction neutral. Anyways, with that in mind, I still do prioritize ranges over, over that to begin with. So until Bitcoin actually takes out the bottom side of even the short-term time frame range, that being the 4-hour, I don't look at that as actionable. I just look at it as, okay, we have something to be aware of right here. Speaking of things to be aware of, as the clock ticks onwards and forwards, I would like to bring you over to this here. So we're going to look at a little bit of quant statistics and quant data. Of which you can pull these up yourself, by the way, on for free on the Krown app, actually, which is my own app. You have my own channel and everything as well. It's just app.crowntrading.net. And a couple things that I want to bring a bit of attention to, that would be one, the global open interest. So this essentially relates towards the amount of open contracts that people are essentially trading on leverage. And then, of course, our global leverage ratio as well. Both of these things I do look at as relevant. However, right now they are giving a few warning signals, but not necessarily any actionable signals, to be fair. So again, please understand, where we're coming at from in the greater analysis. These are just, in the back right now, but something that I would pay attention to actually, because we are getting towards similar leverage ratios that we've seen on prior mega moves. In this case, both to the upside and the downside. Similar times were, early September before the $10,000 dump. Of course, before that, we had the July bear trap, which resulted in, basically a $20,000 move. And then, of course, before that, we did see the same sort of levels being put in on April 16th, pretty much the all-time high for Bitcoin thus far, and going onwards and forwards there. Now, we're not necessarily at these levels just yet, but at some point, I would be looking for that leverage washing to happen. And that very likely is going to be, or at least my main disposition is that that's probably going to be when you're going to see the daily turn back down, put in a higher low, and that's probably going to be the next major opportunity, in my opinion. So put back on my face over here as well. There we go. And we'll go back in over here. And I suspect that is going to be good for now. I think that we covered everything relevant for the next 24 to 36 hours here. Let me just double check. Okay, we're over here. How our momentum oscillator is looking from this angle. Yeah, more or less the same thing. Okay, so we're all good in the hood right there as well. Okay, beautiful. Well, in that case, nice and easy day here. It's really a setup for the week to come. Please understand how all of the different time frames work with each other and sort of what the resolutions are. And I hope this was in some way valuable or some way informational. And if it wasn't, or if it was, just let us know some feedback in the comment section below. Happy to look at that and make this hopefully good for everyone. So with that said, I'm going to wish you well. I'm going to be signing off now. Take care and see you hopefully soon.
Well, there you have it. I hope you guys learned something. Remember, TA is a game of probabilities. No one is going to be right 100% of the time, as Krown says, but understanding the overall direction and what the big professional traders are seeing from this market will help you understand the lens through which the Wall Street bankers, the absolute big hedge fund managers, and so on, how they're seeing the actual metrics behind the charts. So we are really, really excited to have Krown here ongoing, and I believe you guys will come to really enjoy these TA segments as well. In fact, it may inspire some of you guys to look at trading as a potential way to approach the market. I don't have time for it, but I know other people like Krown who do this professionally with success day in and day out. So it's an interesting way to approach crypto, or I guess really any market in general. With that said, I'm EllioTrades. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Smash that like button. Remember to follow me and Krown on Twitter. The links are in the descriptions. And as always, I will see you very soon on the next episode.